Perfect. Thank you so much, Linda. And welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our June 20th, 2022 Land Use Committee meeting for the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. I'm Miguel. This is my first meeting, so if there's a few hiccups along the way, excuse me in advance. We're going to get to it. You're going to get to know me. I'll get to know all of you. It's nice to see all your faces again. Mr. Tom Riley, hello. So I just want everyone to know that this meeting is being recorded, as you heard earlier in the prompt. For those that are on the phone and need to dial in, please make sure that if you need to unmute yourself, it's *6. We will let you know when to do so. Is there anything else I am forgetting? The agenda was sent out to everybody. I just want to make sure everyone has the agenda before we move forward.
And you want me to take roll, so I will call Gwen Flynn.
Here.
Karen Schatz is not here. Jim Stein.
Here.
Danica Middleton.
Here.
Thank you. And Miguel, you're here. So you have quorum, so you've got a bona fide meeting.
Perfect, thank you, Linda. So that's agenda. So we're on agenda item number 1. If anyone's following along with the phone, that was called the order and roll call. That's what Linda was just referring to. We're gonna move on very quickly to agenda item number 2, which is comments from the chair. So sub-item is introductory remarks from the new Land Use Committee chair. So as I mentioned before, I'm taking over for the Land Use Committee for the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. For those who don't know me, my name is Miguel. My last name is also Miguel. That is not a typo. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a bureaucratic nightmare at times. And so I just want everyone to just hear my comments very quickly on who I am. I am a current UCLA graduate master's student pursuing my master's in urban planning with an emphasis in environmental analysis and policy. I currently work with the city of LA for recreation and parks in their environmental division. So that's a very, very fun job. But prior to that, I worked cultural resource management, working with our tribal members in the city of LA. So a lot of the Native American groups that are still existing and preserving their cultural resources, which is a really fun job. And part of that is also, you know, being a volunteer here with the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. And so I currently range from a different spectrum of experience. This summer, I will be doing some research, which will be really fun, looking at different mortgage accessibilities across different ethno-racial groups. And so that'll be something super interesting to do. And I just wanted to give these comments and remarks so you guys get to know who I am. I will eventually get to know everybody that's on here, all my committee members, stakeholders, and every community member that's here from Lake Balboa. I didn't want to start off this meeting without giving you guys some information on who I am, and hopefully we can move forward. And if there's, you know, any questions that will come up, I'll address them to the best of my ability. And like I said, Mr. Tom Riley, thank you for obviously carrying on this committee and everything that you've done. We'll do the best that we can to move this forward and bring the best out of our neighborhood as much as we possibly can. And that's all I've got for my comments. So I will move on to item 2B, which is speaker's time and introduction of the agenda. For today, we have Mr. Eric Stoltman, who will be our only speaker for today from Sky Harbor Group, who will be discussing a little bit on what are some proposals for the VNY airport, on what his and his group are trying to look at. For the rest of our agenda, we do have in total 11 items in which we will be discussing various topics. And I will have, if you will allow me, I would just want to make sure that while we're going through the agenda, I will briefly introduce each topic, give a 5-minute or so summary of what each topic is, followed by, you know, I'll open it up to the rest of the committee so we can discuss it at large. But that is more or less the structure of what this agenda will look like. Eric, I would like you to know, since you are our only speaker, I do want you to have as much time as you possibly can. So if you can do that, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. I want to make sure that we have appropriate time to ask you any clarifying questions on what you present today. We won't be voting on anything specifically today, so we just want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what other proposals that you're thinking of and some ideas that you've got going on, which I'm sure are interesting. And yeah, so that is more or less what the structure is going to look like today. We'll get more into it as we move forward. So moving right along, item number 3, which is the adoption of the agenda for the June 20th, 2022 meeting for the, so before we do that, 1 second to get myself organized here.
If I could, Miguel, I'm going to have you go back to number 1B, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners are requiring any member of this committee must complete mandatory training. It's Planning Training 101. And it's required for anyone that's on this committee that's going to vote. It's supposed to give you a better understanding of how the city planning and zoning and all of that works. And it is, in concept, a good idea. I've taken the training and I'm not excited, personally speaking. But it is mandatory, so we do need to have your email addresses. If you could put it in chat for me, I will be happy to capture that and then forward that on to Department of Neighborhood Empowerment.
Thank you, Linda. We do have a raised hand, Gwendolyn. Let's see. Go ahead.
So I have taken the land use training from the Neighborhood Empowerment. Do they notify you, or do I have to submit something to you to verify it? I did get I guess a certification, some kind of document. Do you?
Yep.
Do I need to turn it into somebody, or do they automatically send that off to you?
Nothing is automatic. So if you could send that off, you can either send it off to me or to Miguel. I'll put my email address up, but it's lindag@lakebalboanc.org.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know if there's any trouble logging in, Daniel Johnson is a pretty good rep. And so if there's any trouble with any logins, please reach out to him. I believe does everyone have his email, Linda?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
1 second, everybody.
But that's all right. Just send an email to me and tell me that you need his information.
There you go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Perfect. Are we allowed to move on? Yes, we are. All right. Item number 3, adoption of the agenda for the June 2022 meeting. I do have a few items I would like to fix before we make any motion. First is agenda item number 5, fixing Eric Stoltman's name from the correct spelling is Stolpman. And so I just want to make sure that's agenda item number 5, that I will fix that spelling of his name and make sure it's inserted correctly. And then I would also like to add, I noticed I never gave the opportunity for my committee to give any comments. And I did not add that onto the agenda. So again, new to this, I'm getting used to it. So I want to make sure that we add it. So I'm adding an agenda item called committee comments. I'm going to insert that as agenda item number 10, move the current agenda item number 10 down to 11, and agenda item 11 to become agenda item number 12. And so those are the only changes I will make. Is there anybody else who has any other comments or discussion about this agenda?
Okay, we need a motion.
I move that
Perfect.
adopt the agenda with the changes as stated for this meeting, June 20th, 2022.
Is there a second? Somebody want to
Danica
second the
second.
motion?
I just did. Danica will second.
Thank you. Okay, Gwen made the motion, Danica seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Gwen?
Yes.
Karen's not here. Jim Stein?
Muted, Jim.
Jim Stein? You're muted.
You're muted, Jim.
Phil, yes.
Thank you. Danica Middleton
Yes.
and Miguel.
Yes.
4 yeses, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Moving on, agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes for the May 16th, 2022 meeting. We do not have those meeting minutes in front of us, and we weren't able to distribute them for you today, so we will have to skip that meeting, that agenda item for this meeting. We hope to have it for the next one. Awesome. Okay. Agenda item number 5 are speakers. So as we mentioned before, Eric is here today from Sky Harbor Group, who will be talking to us about some hopefully new upcoming changes to the VNY airport, but I don't want to steal his thunder. So I want to make sure that Eric has everything he needs to say. And Eric, hopefully if we have any questions at the end, we'll ask them. And I move the floor to you.
Okay, before you do that though, I just want to do a couple comments. I had the pleasure of meeting Eric and the CFO of Sky Harbor Group. And the idea behind it was to find out what they could do for the community. And that was the very first time ever that anyone came to us saying, hey, we're planning on doing X, Y, and Z. What can we do for the community? We never heard those words before, and it was just really impressive to me that they really want to be a partner in our community. So I want to publicly thank you, Eric, for that, including us. And now I'll give you the floor.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, Linda. I really appreciate that. And thank you all for having me tonight. I will try to be very brief, although I am typically a very verbose person, so I'll do the best I can to keep it short. As a background, when you talk about community, my background was I was a high school student, and can everybody see my screen? I'm sharing the kind of a title page. I was a high school student here in kind of the outskirts of Houston, and a military pilot showed up at my high school for kind of like the career day. And up to that point, I had never really thought about that as a career. I liked what I heard and thought, give this a shot. So the following week or so, I went down to the airport around me and applied and got a job working at the local airport. And I've kind of been in aviation ever since. I was a Navy pilot for 11 years, stationed all over the place, although the one place I was not stationed was in California. Closest, I guess, to that was Hawaii. That was my last duty station. I've been a pilot for 5 years since then in the reserves. Aviation is deep rooted in me and my family. I met my wife while I was in the Navy. And so, you know, aside from it being a big part of my life, something that, you know, when we started Sky Harbor back in 2018, from the very beginning, one of the things that we've sought to do is really incorporate the community into an airport. I've long thought that there's oftentimes a divide between, you know, the airport and the surrounding community. And so, you know, we look for ways, and I'm happy to, I don't have that in this presentation, but happy to go into the ways that we have formalized processes to go out and proactively engage in the community for jobs and internships and training programs. So you know, coming to Van Nuys and meeting with Linda and meeting with, you know, the CAC and other organizations like that is something that we take very seriously. And so once again, I appreciate it and welcome any feedback you all have. So I told you a little bit about myself. Let me tell you about Sky Harbor. Sky Harbor, as I said before, was founded in 2018 when our founder, Tal, who was a former F-16 pilot, had an aircraft and tried to find a hangar space and realized he couldn't find a hangar. He lives in the New York area. Shortly thereafter, he realized that, wow, there's not a lot of hangar space anywhere around. And so he ended up actually parking his aircraft in a hangar about 4 hours from New York. Our team, since that time, we've grown to 6 locations, either in operation or development around the country, from Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Colorado. The closest to you all is Phoenix. And so we've grown from there. Recently went public in January. And our team is a culturally and professionally diverse group of players that include experienced airport operators and developers. We've done over 30 projects on airports. Military aviators, there's 4 of us, including Tal and myself, who have basically spent careers in military aviation. Top real estate professionals, and then also just finance industry veterans. Our CFO, who Linda met, was a 20-year municipal bond banker before he came over to us. We are, as I said before, we went public fairly recently, and a big, area of opportunity for our company is a West Coast, like, kind of headquarters or presence. So we looked at various areas around the California area, and it goes without saying that your airport is a marquee airport in the country, if you weren't aware of that. We are very serious about job creation and preservation. That is absolutely one of the forefront of any development that we look at, is how can we create or preserve jobs in the fields that we're in. And our product, what makes us different, is what you see along the bottom. It's what we call a home basing solution. So if any of you are not familiar with an FBO, the FBO, you all live near an airport, so maybe everyone knows, but for those of you who don't know, an FBO is essentially kind of the marina of an airport. It's where transient aircraft pull in, they get fuel, they park overnight, that sort of thing. Lots of transient traffic coming in and out, day in, day out. Sky Harbor, we are not an FBO. We offer what you see on the bottom campus there, which is a private hangar complex. Primarily, what we look to do is attract corporate flight departments and other employers, folks that come in and bring jobs to communities. You might think, what's so special about that? There's a few unique benefits of the home basing solution as opposed to the FBO. Number one, airport land, people say, is like beachfront property. Airport property is beachfront property. They're not making more of it, and it's scarce. So one thing that we do is we make a better use of land. You can see how we build the hangars in a row. What that means is that you don't have an airport like Van Nuys with a lot of individual properties that are set back from each other in such a way that is not a good use or a maximal use of the airport. We also eliminate redundancies on airports, and then most importantly, what I'd like to talk about today is that we believe, and I'll show you here in a second, how we actually lower noise and emissions at airports, which, from a community perspective, in many of the airports that we operate, is really something that resonates. So why are we sitting here, and what's happening at LAWA? What you can see on the left-hand side, obviously, this is Van Nuys Airport. You can see Sherman Way, Woodley. The flyaway terminal is right where my cursor is, and Roscoe up above. LAWA has released an RFP for 2 parcels. If you look over now on the right side for a blown up view, there's the first parcel is this entire hangar and land area right here with this big hangar on the right. Both of these hangars were built in the 1960s, made of wood. The one on the left has had a lot of funding. You can see it's got solar panels on the roof. It's had it's been updated many times. The one on the left has not been. And so made of wood and really kind of in somewhat rough shape. That's the first RFP. The second RFP is right here on the intersection of Saticoy and Woodley, right again across the street from the Flyaway Terminal. There are active bids going on right now, of which Sky Harbor is one of the bidders. We believe, they don't release who the competition is, but we believe one of our competitors is an FBO. And we believe that that may actually be a couple of the bidders are FBOs. What that would mean again is more kind of service of transient aircraft on the airport. What Sky Harbor is proposing here in this RFP is on this page. This is kind of what we talk about when we say a home basing solution. You'll see what we're proposing is 13 hangars on this row and another 3 of larger hangars on this row, right? This is what I'm talking about when I mean better use of the space. We'll bring in corporate flight departments. We'll bring in these kind of large business jet aircraft and provide them homes here, which again have multiple benefits. Additionally, we are LEED design. This is a LEED platinum design that we're talking about. We have things like safe fuels, which are kind of it's the emissions friendly fuel. A lot of benefits. But when I get to our benefits, what I'd really like to talk about, the 3 key benefits. The first one is economic development, and so by being kind of growing in a phase where we're growing fast, we have a pretty good gauge in terms of the number of jobs that we contribute in our campuses in Nashville, Houston, Dallas, et cetera. And at Van Nuys, we've calculated that we're talking about the creation or preservation of between 300 and 600 jobs at Van Nuys. Another one, as I mentioned before, are kind of the environmental, social, and governance benefits, as well as the DE&I benefits. We are a leader in the electric aviation space, which may be of interest to some of you because electric aviation is anticipated to be much quieter than the traditional aviation, turbine aircraft that are taken off today. I mentioned the LEED platinum design, and one of the things that we contribute is this Sky Harbor Academy. That's what I was talking about before. Sky Harbor Academy is a internship program that we offer in every location that we have one of our home basing solutions, where we actually proactively go out into the community, target traditionally underrepresented cohorts, women, people of color, et cetera, folks that don't typically have airport jobs, find them and bring them on for a paid internship in which we bring them from essentially 0 to ground handling certification and fueling certification, that sort of thing. The reason that's, that has numerous benefits for the individual. It's a free, totally free, as a matter of fact, they're paid way to get their first airport job and sets them on a career path in the aviation industry. Many folks, like I said, myself, I started off, doing that sort of thing. And so in many ways, it sets you in a path for FBO management, airline management, that sort of thing, higher paying jobs. For the community, it's higher paying jobs, and we go out and actually are bringing in folks and engaging in the community. And then it's not entirely altruistic for Sky Harbor and for the other players on the field. As many of you have probably seen, jobs these days are hard to fill, and so these require certain training and skills, and so we go out and provide this program so that we're providing those jobs. So those are the first 2 benefits. But what I really want to focus on this evening, and I'm keeping an eye on the time here, is the noise and pollution reduction at Van Nuys Airport. And so I'll flip to the next page, and I'll start by saying this: Van Nuys Airport is one of the top 2. It was the busiest. I think it's now I believe the 2nd busiest business aviation airport in the country. Okay, that has a lot of benefits that come with it. LAWA's own website says that it brings over 10,000 jobs and billions of dollars in revenue to the community. That's a significant driver. However, as many of you can probably relate, there's also drawbacks with an airport as busy as it is with business aviation. One of those is just the number of takeoffs and landings and flights and movements that are coming out of of the airport. Probably many of those over your over your homes, over your neighbors' homes, et cetera. What we have done is run an analysis in terms of the number of repositioning flights. So in 2021, 4,500 repositioning flights occurred at the Van Nuys Airport, right? These repositioning flights, let me direct your attention to this side of the field. These repositioning flights are, well, actually, let me back up for a second. Before I get into the repositioning flights, Van Nuys Airport has somewhere between 600,000 and 800,000 square feet of hangar space. And our analysis shows that there's over double the amount of square feet of business jets that would like to be on Van Nuys Airport. And so what that means is that you've got a large number of business jets that would like to be parked at Van Nuys, right? And by the way, if you're parked at Van Nuys and you live at that airport, that's a lot of tax dollars to the citizens of Los Angeles. But since they can't be based in Van Nuys Airport, they go to places like Burbank, they go to Camarillo, they go to Long Beach, some of them go to Arizona, et cetera. And so that brings us to these repositioning flights, which, as you'll see here, here's an actual example. Sorry, excuse me. My cursor has now disappeared. So here is an actual example of a aircraft that's taking off out of Burbank and flying in as a repositioning flight into Van Nuys. These flights, there's nuance here. These flights are low altitude, averaging 1,950 feet. They are fast, 265 miles an hour, about 250 knots. And they're pretty much direct. The whole point is to get to Van Nuys as quickly as possible. And the reason for this is because a lot of the VIPs that are flying on these want to be picked up at Van Nuys rather than Burbank, rather than Camarillo, rather than Long Beach, where what have you. So the planes live elsewhere, but they fly to Van Nuys to pick up their owners or their VIPs, right? What that means is that instead of one flight taking off out of Van Nuys and going to New York, let's say, and coming back, that'd be 2 flights. Their plane takes off from another airport, it lands in Van Nuys, and then it takes off for New York. That's 2 flights. But then it has to come back to Van Nuys, drop off the person, and then go back to where the aircraft lives. So instead of getting 2 flights for one trip to New York, you have 4 flights. And so we, by running these analysis, and these are actual aircraft that we can find what are the aircraft that are actually the biggest repos into Van Nuys in a given year. CDM Smith, who's an environmental group that does a lot of work with LAWA, has estimated and done an analysis that says that they could eliminate 6,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent for the neighborhood annually. That's each year. And essentially via Sky Harbor campus, what we're talking about at the end of the day is building additional aircraft hangars so that more aircraft that would like to be based at Van Nuys can actually come to Van Nuys. It lowers the noise, it lowers the emissions, and it increases the tax revenues to LA as opposed to Long Beach, Arizona, or wherever else they're coming in from. So, but probably for the biggest item I would say for you all is less of these low, fast, and loud flights that are coming through the neighborhood to pick these folks up. And not because they want to do this, it's because there's not enough hangar space available at the airport. So that's this is kind of what we're presenting. This is what we're presenting with LAWA. This is this is what we want. I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm happy to talk about other benefits that we think we bring. Again, the goal here tonight was just to come here. Thank you again for the time. Introduce our company. Introduce what we're hoping to accomplish at Van Nuys. We're not asking for a vote. Miguel said he wasn't going to give me a vote anyway, which is great, but we're not asking for that. We simply wanted to come, introduce ourselves, and say we hope to be selected. We hope to move through the process, and you have my word that we will work with Lake Balboa as we move through the process. Should we be selected for this RFP? That is all I have to share. Miguel, how'd I do on time?
That was perfect. Yeah. Great,
Thanks.
great on time.
Perfect. Thank you.
So thank you, Eric, for obviously bringing this forward. There was a few things in there that I just want everyone to know what we're on when it comes to what Eric mentioned. For those that are on the phone and for those who don't know what RFP means, RFP is just request for proposal, meaning that the city has, or LAWA, the Los Angeles World Airport, right, has noticed that there's a need for these airport hangars to, need some change. And so they're requesting for a proposal from various companies to come in and give their bid or proposal on the ideas of how these hangars can change. So that's what Eric was referring to when he said RFP. Secondly, to clear another thing up, is LEED. LEED is a specific rating systems by the US Green Building Association, who just reviews different buildings based on their sustainability components. And so what Eric is talking about when he says LEED Platinum is just one of the highest ratings that he can get with his buildings, which means that they are incorporating as much as they can with sustainability, reusing most of the elements like water, gas, heat, all the different things that they can within their buildings, especially solar. And so it's one of the rating systems that different people use, developers will use to make sure that their building is sustainable. So I just wanted to clear some of those things up for stakeholders and people who don't know what those are. And that's what I've got so far. So
Miguel, we have a couple hands up if we can entertain some questions and or comments.
Of course. So I see Dennis has his hand up first. So Dennis, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. I've lived in Van Nuys for about 15 years now, and I just love the idea of the reduction in noise and pollution and air traffic. So hopefully y'all win.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And also thank you, Miguel, for clarifying those acronyms. I forget sometimes, so I appreciate that. And thank you, Dennis, very much.
Perfect. Next person I see is Jennifer. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah, I have just a comment. So I lived in Lake Balboa for over 20 years, and I just want to say that I appreciate that Sky Harbor is working on reducing some of the noise with some of those planes and also the emission levels. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that take place. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Next up, we have Isabel Herrera. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. Isabel, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfect, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, so my name's Isabel, and I have something very similar as to what Dennis said earlier. I just think that it's a great idea that they're trying to reduce aircraft noise. And I've also been living in Van Nuys for about like 10 years. So I think that would be great.
Thank you. Thanks, Isabella. I really appreciate all these kind words. I know somebody's gonna hammer me. I'm looking at who's it gonna be.
We do have a phone call ending in 119. So let me see here. The number ending in 119. You can push *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Oh, she's not on anymore.
Hi, this is Christy. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I really am just kind of echoing what I've heard so far. I've lived in Encino Village for the last 14 years, and I love the idea of lowering noise pollution and also just emissions too. I think that's really important. Wanted to put out my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, board. Give me 1 second. We have one more called S, who has his hand up or her hand up, or their hand up. So if you can please unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. Hi, this is Stacy. I don't know why my name didn't show up. Sorry about that.
That's okay, Stacy.
So I had 2 questions. One, there was an overall number given for job retention and creation, and I was wondering if you could parse that out a little bit more specifically. And because obviously we want to focus not just on keeping the jobs we have, but increasing the jobs that are available for the community. And then the other question is, I appreciate your presentation and thank you so much for the detail and all the beautiful images. But I think my question is about where the balance is between increasing the availability for more aircraft to consider this home, where the balance is and how that actually would balance to effectively reduce traffic. I'm not sure if I'm wording that correctly, but I hope you get the gist of my point.
Yeah,
it's the balance piece.
I get it. I get your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is my team would probably yell at me for not making that clear right off the bat. So it's a good question. So when it comes to the hold on, let's see here. Let me see if I can. I'll say this. I'll start off by saying it's parsing out job creation versus preservation is very difficult to do for the following reason. We break it down in terms of development jobs during development, and then jobs during operation. Jobs during development are, those could be preservation, those could be creation. These are likely creation on Van Nuys, right? Unless they're literally moving over from the development that's happening down the road. But kind of preservation in the community. So it also depends on how you're looking at that. What we are, so let's start with jobs and development. We break it down by, your construction for support, architects, et cetera, associated development. The key thing I would point out here is that our Sky Harbor developments that are going on right now have achieved over 75% local contracts. And the reason that it's not, that it's the 75 and not even higher is because the building materials that we put up here on this, that you can see on the screen here, are made off site. So those are preserved in the community, but in some cases net new. In operation, you can kind of see the breakdown of how we discuss jobs in operation, right? We have our own employees, but then we also have our tenants' employees as well. And then we have aircraft business services and non-aviation business services. So think aircraft business services are caterers, detailers, light maintenance providers, those sorts of things. Non-aviation businesses are, kind of waste management, janitorial, landscaping, those sorts of things. And then we mentioned also the Sky Harbor Academy as well. So the best way to kind of break out the jobs in creation versus preservation is it's about a 50-50 split. For the preservation of jobs that would otherwise go away, if there was not this sort of economic activity and new jobs created for the airport, specifically jobs that come to these campuses every day or every week or periodically. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, your second job was, how do you balance more aircraft on the field with lower noise? And I can definitely see how that's counterintuitive. Think of it this way:
not just lower noise, just lower overall everything. Like, I understand the emissions, and if we're moving into the electric, I get that, but just the overall reduced impact to the community, the local community. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the best way to describe that would be, Van Nuys Airport is one of the premier fields in the country. It just is. It is on par with Teterboro in New York, maybe White Plains, but it and Teterboro too, that like basically the two premier airports in the nation. So what you have is a situation today where aircraft want to be there and they're going to come there, right? Because the FAA is going to allow this to happen. So these aircraft that want to be on Van Nuys are forced to live somewhere else, and then they fly in and out, right? Because the VIP that wants to get picked up, or the owner or whatever, is going to drive to Van Nuys. They're like, I'm not driving out to Long Beach, I'm not driving to Burbank, I'm coming to Van Nuys. So while it seems counterintuitive, it's like, well, you guys want to build more hangars and somehow that's going to make the impact less. What you have to consider is that today you've got these aircraft that are coming in, right? That we already discussed before, how that contributes to noise, it contributes to emissions. It also contributes to ATC congestion, the air traffic control congestion, all of these sorts of things. Whereas if the hangar space was here, and what we're talking about is, what we really strive to do is maximize the use of land here. By doing that, we're actually reducing the noise footprint, the emissions, the number of movements on the field. And so basically the thought is like, it's not that there's just more demand to be on the field than there is available space. And so we think that what we're offering actually addresses that demand, and rather than contributing to I don't want to say contributing to the problem, but servicing more and more transient aircraft, pushing more aircraft to live somewhere else. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Perfect. So thank you. I saw more hands up. I know we're taking a lot more time on this, but it's super important. The Van Nuys Airport is something that is very near and dear to the neighborhood. So I'm going to move it over to Gwendolyn. I saw your hand was up first.
Thank you, Miguel. And thank you, Eric, for the presentation. And I do appreciate the presentation that you did, the PowerPoint. But I have some really basic questions. Some of it was answered already, but just the real fundamental questions is, I guess I understand your organization to be sort of airport managers. Is that correct? You're kind of.
Yep. Sorry, my video. We essentially are airport developers. We build these hangar campuses, airport infrastructure, and then we also manage them as well. So we develop and then also manage through the life of a long-term ground lease with the city of Los Angeles. But we're not airport management. That would be, city of LA employees.
What other airports do you develop and manage in this way?
It's a good question. We developed and managed in Houston at an airport called Sugar Land, Nashville at Nashville International, Miami at Miami Opa-locka. I said Nashville, Denver, which is at an airport called Centennial, Deer Valley, Phoenix. And then we, as of today, finalized an agreement in Dallas at Addison Airport. So those are the 6.
And that's since 2018 when you established yourself?
That's correct.
Okay. Where are you in the process of the RFP?
Great question. You're asking, can we go back to where you guys all just say how much you want us to win? I don't like, I'm just kidding. No, we are. So we submitted the RFP in April, May, and then we were passed on to the round of interviews. And so as of a few weeks ago, we interviewed with Los Angeles World Airports, as well as I would say a handful of others for this site. And so we're kind of in a wait and see period now. We don't know if there'll be more interviews or more questions, or if they'll just make their decision. So that's where we are.
Where's your corporate office situated?
We have our corporate headquarters in White Plains, New York. But then we have kind of regional headquarters in Houston, where I am, and starting one in Denver, so kind of the West Coast. And so that's I think I had mentioned at some point earlier, looking to kind of grow and establish more of a West Coast like headquarters. I mean, obviously the Los Angeles area and Van Nuys would be a phenomenal place for that, but we don't get to choose in this business. We have to let the city choose us. So.
Okay, just curious. I mean, if you were awarded this and we had some concerns and wanted to where would we go? Who would we talk to?
Well, you can talk to me. I will leave my email address here, and you can reach out to me at any point. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Eric. Next one, Tom Riley. I saw you had your hand up next. Go ahead.
I was just lonely, so I thought I needed someone to talk to. The RFP is in process as we speak. When will they make a decision in round figures?
I would love to know the answer to that question myself, Tom. I've asked them, and they've said essentially we don't have to give you any update or time frame. So I don't know.
And how long is the lease for of the property?
It's the RFP was put out for 30 years, for the 30-year ground lease. That's what was contemplated in the request for proposal.
My thoughts would be that this group would want to spend more time with you, because this is a huge project with so many things involved, and to make a decision in 1 hour or 2 hours really doesn't work too well. We really need to sit with you and get an idea of how we both can work the best with each other, especially on a 30-year lease, because you're going to have to live with us for 30 years.
I know, Tom. You recall we spoke on the phone, and I said we need to come and meet whoever wants to. This is before I knew this was on Zoom, and was planning on flying in. But absolutely, I would welcome the opportunity to visit.
Because what you want to do is great, but it affects the Van Nuys Airport, which is the economic engine for the San Fernando Valley, and in particular Lake Balboa. And we want to be able to help the Lake Balboa community as best possible. We have some outstanding schools here, and there is an academy, aviation academy on the airport, and we want to be able to draw people into it. There's sadly very few people who live in Lake Balboa work in Lake Balboa. You are offering an opportunity to really create that, and I think because the school we have is an aviational mechanical school, this is a great opportunity for the airport as a whole. So I think spending time and figuring out how we can best help each other, we're open to.
Absolutely, no question. We're committed to working with you all, regardless of how this thing works out. So
And one other question, which really has nothing to do with you, but the world in general. Why hasn't anybody else who's bidding for this location asked or made us aware that exists in general? Obviously, you don't have the details, which is fine. Why wouldn't the others reach out? I mean, this is a huge commitment, and we want work with you and you work with us. And obviously, whatever we come together with is going to be the recommendation that we're going to give to the neighborhood council as well as LAWL. And so the fact that you're reaching out to us is incredibly important, and we're going to recommend to the city council as well as the airport what we feel want. And this is something nobody else is doing. I personally am very amazed by that. They're not doing it. Those are just powerful people who are decision makers. And so it's very impressive that you're reaching out to us. And I think it's equally important that we have more details so that we can make a good recommendation to the legislators of the city. And we're willing to do that and want to do that. So when you can come out here and meet with us, and we can sit down and talk for an hour or 2 or 3, it would be incredibly helpful.
I think I froze for a second. Sorry.
You do look kind of cold. What I'm saying is, or what I said while you were freezing, what I'm saying is that this group of people and yourself or whoever else you want to bring with you should meet for a couple of hours and really work our way through it. And then we should take time to realize what you have presented to us to put together a plan for you that we would like to see for our community. And
agreed. Happy to meet. Agreed. As we said on the phone, Tom, I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay.
Danica has a question.
I guess I'm done.
You're muted.
Danica.
You're a lot.
I know, I'm sorry. I was working from my phone and sometimes, the fingers. Anyway, so a couple of questions. So I get that it would be less flights in and out, even though there's more planes there. So my question is, because I'm on Paso Robles, which is 1 block west of Balboa, just about every Saturday morning, there is a very, very, very strong fuel smell. And then sometimes during the week. So pardon my lack of knowledge as far as where you store your fuel or the fuel tanks. Are you going to be upgrading those so that there are not those horrific emissions into our atmosphere? And then lastly, I would just like to know, just curious about the logistics. So, we do have a lot of corporate people, entertainment people, executives, whatever, that do utilize the Van Nuys Airport. So how long would the construction take? Because that traffic will be interrupted, and where would they go during that time?
Sure. So in terms of the first question, our fuel farm is actually positioned as close to the runway as possible. It's far away from, essentially from any neighborhood, any home that you could get. So that's the first thing. We're also, as I said before, looking at the alternative fuels. That's something that's definitely on the docket. And then, okay. And absolutely are, kind of bridging between your first and second question. Any concept we propose would be subject to full environmental review. And like I said before, we're already in the preliminary phases at LEED Platinum design, which is the highest score you can get. So we're aware. I think when we spoke with Linda, she actually mentioned that concern. And like we said with Tom, we will definitely plan to sit with your your council, and these sorts of things are absolutely stuff that we should, I can't answer in a Q&A, but we should actually look at, do these things make sense? What do, get your way in on that, get your take. Construction, it's a large site, and so we are already contemplating building it in phases, which would mean that the equipment and all the trucks and things like that would be inside the fence line, minimal impact to the community. And so that, again, another thing that we'll sit with to help you, understand what's going on, how is this going to impact all those things. You'll be, it's not like, we're just going to disappear and
right. Okay. Thank you.
Linda.
Yeah.
Linda. You're muted, Linda.
Very difficult for me not to jump right in. So is LAWA making the final decision, or does Van Nuys Airport have any input?
LAWA has a kind of a panel that makes a recommendation, and then my understanding, although they haven't really articulated, they haven't shared with us how the sausage is made, so to speak. But my understanding is that'll end up, that recommendation, they take it to the board of the airport commissioner, and then from there it goes to the city council for vote and approval. But not Van Nuys. It'll be the city.
So then the city council will have to vote on it, and then we can voice our opinion as well. Is the RFP closed?
It is closed.
It is closed.
Meaning it's closed, no additional submissions or anything like that.
Okay, so I think it might behoove us to find out who the other players are and what their plans are for that particular location, and what their ideas are and how many there are. I think it would be good to know.
You have to get a hold of Diana.
I can request that.
Thank
I'll
you,
take
Linda.
that on, folks.
You're so
Thank
great.
Thank you, everyone. And Eric, thank you. I know when it comes to an RFP, anyone who submits one doesn't have to do community outreach the way Eric is doing. And I just want everyone to note that this is something special. Him coming out here, giving us his ideas of what he wants to do, especially the design, and the proposal that him and his team gave to VNY and LAWA. And so I hope everyone, appreciated his presentation today. Thank you, Eric. Again, we can't extend enough gratitude to you. We hope, the RFP goes well. LAWA responds to you quickly. I know from experience, once you get to the interview phase, that's typically a good sign. So, here, everyone, I hope, fingers crossed. And like Tom said, and everyone expressed, we hope that if selected, we'll work with you hand in hand and try to, create something spectacular for our neighborhood.
Eric, how soon could you come out to us and sit with us and discuss everything? Within 10 or 15 minutes.
Eric is frozen again. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Tom says I look cold. It's burning up inside this house, so I don't know how that. We're clearly. Sometime in July, I want to say I can plan to come out. I'll definitely let you know, Tom and Linda and Miguel, if I get his contact information. So I'll definitely be in touch. And I just want to say once again, I really appreciate you guys, you all letting me come to share today. This engaging with the community is absolutely critical to us. I hope that we've shown that. And this is just the first step. We just wanted to say thank you. We just want to introduce ourselves, have a meet and greet. And so thank you for, I know that, I know that you probably have a lot of other things on the agenda, and I appreciate you giving me some time to share about Sky Harbor and our plans.
Well, and the sooner you can come out here, the better. So we have time to consider and make our recommendations to the city council.
Perfect.
Different organizations. I mean, if there are 6 groups that are trying to get this area, and you want us to support it, which we are interested in possibly doing. But if the sooner you can tell us or convince us, we can take the message to the city council. Whether anybody else does it, that's another story. But it's a matter of urgency, I would say.
I agree. So I'll prioritize it. We'll get ASAP. We'll get out there probably beginning in July, then something like that.
Okay.
Thank you, Rowan. Stacy, do you have one final comment that you want to give to Eric?
Yes, just a quick question, and please forgive the noises that are coming out of my 8-pound dog right now. The quick question is, will there be anything implemented in this plan, in the design for the community, whether that be any kind of like, I know you mentioned catering. I didn't know if there's anything, just community-based would be available in this plan. Thank you.
So we have a few things that we think for the community. One of, a few of those are, number one, the local hiring that I mentioned before, also the local internship that we discussed before. We are, we're planning to be active in, there's a higher LAX. We're hoping to bring some sort of higher VNY to, like we said, find folks in the local area with this Sky Harbor Academy, give preference to folks who are local to Lake Balboa, Van Nuys, Sherman, those sorts of around the airport. So that would be.
May I just clarify my question a little bit? Like, we recently lost a beloved, long-standing restaurant that is, I think, adjacent, if not on the Van Nuys property. And that's the kind of thing that I was wondering about.
That was the 94th Aero Squadron.
Yeah.
It closed down due to COVID. And it wasn't actually on the property. It was next to the property. And you could sit outside and watch the aircraft come in and go out.
Thank you, Linda, for explaining that better than I could. Yes, that is what I'm asking about. Something like that for the community. Thank you, Linda.
We have contemplated various different things there. If you saw on our renderings, there were some green spaces and things like that. So essentially, there's some areas that we're looking at different things for. But I'll take that on board, and we'll look into that more.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Stacy, for your question. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to have to move on to our next agenda item. So agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action of the Southwest Valley Community Plan updates. There's a lot of, let's begin. So very quickly, there's a lot of changes going on right now with the city of Los Angeles and our zoning code, as most of you may be aware of. Currently, the city of LA is undergoing a transformation with regards to its zoning and its land use regulation. This could imply a huge shift to the way we organize our cities and how we could address issues such as affordable housing, transportation, accessibility to open spaces, and much more. Zoning and zoning law is a very complicated issue, and I don't expect everyone to understand exactly what these changes are just yet. Just know that everything trickles down, and it begins with the general plan. So the way we designate our city with our goals and initiatives, that's typically what the general plan will be. In this plan, there are elements, and these elements address specific topics in a city, such as the housing element and the open space element. From these elements, there is also one known as the land use element. This is the one that designates itself into zones in our city, and this is what makes our community plans. So for those who don't know, the Southwest Valley Community Plans consists of 3. Number 1 is the Canoga Park, Winnetka, Woodland Hills, and West Hills Community Plan. Those communities are lumped into one plan itself. The next one is Encino and Tarzana. That is the next plan that gets lumped in together. And then finally, the third one is Reseda, West Van Nuys, and Lake Balboa. That is our plan. And so that is where we are going to see an update. These 3 plans together make up what is the Southwest Valley Community Plans. And so I'm going to share very quickly and keep this brief. I just want you to know that as of right now, this is just so our board and our committee understands what it is that these plans are trying to do So let's see here. So in the agenda that I sent out, there is a link that you can follow. It is a very, very big plan. And it is a lot of documentation and a lot of information and knowledge that isn't super easy to understand. Thankfully, the city thought ahead of time and made 3 web video series in which anyone can go and look them up on the website that it's attached to this agenda. If not, you can also search for the Southwest Valley Community Plan updates and look at what these different topics are going to be. Mainly right now, what they're doing is showing us a map of current designations of what the Southwest Valley community looks like. You can see there's different colors on this map, and each one represents a certain land use designation. The yellow is mainly represented by single family housing. You can see our Van Nuys Airport up here on the right. And so what these community plan updates are particularly going to do is implement the brand new Los Angeles zoning laws and codes that were created not that long ago, re-implement them into these new land use elements, and then re-implement them even further into our community plans. So as of right now, I just want everyone to understand that this is the current land use designation that we have right now. With this new updates, you're going to see brand new designations coming in, which means there is an opportunity to change how our community, including Lake Balboa, is going to be organized. So I'm going to just briefly touch on some of the big changes that are on here. And one of them is going to currently extend the boundary that you see on the easternmost side of the Van Nuys Airport. The plans are now actually going to extend past the airport onto the 405. That will be the easternmost boundary, which as of right now, the Van Nuys community plan is the only plan that has this little area designated. So you will see that now that color gets filled in. So that means Lake Balboa community plan will now include this little area right here, which is in part pretty big, because it also means that for the first time, right, this will be changed on which community plan is the one that's in charge of designating what usage, whether it's housing, commercial, open space, etc. So that is one of the biggest changes that was noted on this Southwest Valley Community Plan update. And so I just want everyone to know that this is that boundary that they will be extending. It will no longer just end right here at the Van Nuys Airport. In fact, it will include these little areas. So that is the first biggest change that you will see coming forward. And then one second. So there's a brand new scheme of how things are designated in the city with regards to our zoning. And you can see all the pretty colors that they try to make it easy for us to understand. However, it's not as easy as one may think. So the Van Nuys Airport right now, you can see is this light blue color. And really what that is designated at is light industrial. With this new plan, what you will be seeing is that it will no longer be light industrial. In fact, it'll change over to what is known as production zones. A production zone is more or less the same usage and concept of what a light manufacturing zone is, and it's mainly going to sustain and preserve the industrial activity while serving as a regional job space. So what Eric just presented to us is going to coincide very perfectly with what these new zones are aiming to do. And for us, because the VNY is one of the biggest income drivers in our neighborhood, this is something that we want to keep an eye on and make sure that developers who do come in, like Eric's group and Sky Harbor, are abiding by this new zoning regulation to preserve a lot of that new income and new job creation that is aimed to do with these new community plans. And then moving forward, another change that we see is along Sherman Way and Van Nuys. You can see that the intersections are starting to look a lot more pink and a lot more magenta. That just means that they are being changed from a low residential area to a low neighborhood residential area, which are primarily residential and may integrate limited local serving commercial uses, which is something that wasn't done in the prior plans. You can see right here, Sherman Way, for those that are on the phone, has very, very little pink and magentas and mainly yellow surrounding areas, which are, like I said, single family housing. And with these new plans, what you will get is a greater integration of what they want to do, which is lower residential areas and implement and incorporate more commercial use into some of them. What does that mean? It could mean that you will see maybe some apartments that will have a commercial space on their bottom floor. It could mean that you could see better integration between, say, the market that you see at Sherman Way and White Oak and the neighboring apartment buildings that you see next to them. So there's a lot of different changes that are coming our way. And really, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of what these plans are going to do as of yet, because there is no definitive at the current moment. Right now, these plans are in the community input stage. And if anyone is interested and really, really wants to dive in, I just wanted to point out two of the biggest things that we are seeing as of right now proposed in these plans, which is the extension of that boundary, those changes along Sherman Way and Van Noen within our current jurisdiction, and seeing that they will change from low neighborhood or low residential to low neighborhood residential areas. What does that mean entirely? We're not specifically sure at the current moment. But like I said, there is a three-part series. If anyone is interested and wants to go and visit this website, you can go in there. They'll break down the entire plan for you. If for some reason one of you or community members, board members, whoever it may be, notices that there's a change in the designation of your own use on your own parcel, and you feel like you want to give a comment, on their website, on the Southwest Valley Community Plan website, you can actually access the comment form all the way at the bottom. And in this comment form, you can add both your parcel, the new designation, and you can provide comment on why you believe it should or should not be changed. And you can give your gripes to the city and let them know that you do not agree with their zoning change, or you do agree, one or the other. And so I just want everyone to know that this is something that is available for you, and anyone in general who feels like they want to give their opinion on the new zoning changes. And as of right now, they're still on the community input. There's a lot more to go when it comes to big changes like this. There's a lot more environmental impact reports that you are going to see that comes with something like this. And so that is all I have right now for the Southwest Valley Community Plan updates. And I'm going to stop sharing and hope if there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Are we all?
At this point, Miguel, there's too much to absorb. So I don't think there are any questions. And my understanding is, from the community plan, Lake Balboa is the least affected change-wise from what the plans are going to be. But again, we have a lot of time to look at them and figure it out. So you keep bringing your presentations, which are incredible. That'll cost you $50. If you keep bringing the presentations to us, and I mean, we need to know what may or may not be happening, and we can take that message to the community, and it's up to the community to decide what they want to do. So thank you very much for your presentation tonight.
Yes, thank you everyone too. And please, if you all have a chance, please take a look at them. It's a very extensive document, but like I said, the webinar series really does help. And like Tom says, we'll take it from there. And as changes come along, we'll bring them forward to the committee and move forward from there. All right, so moving on. Agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action of the LA River Master Plan. Another big document. And so I'll briefly mention, there's a lot of changes with the city going on. This is one of them. This is more county-wide, dealing with the Los Angeles River. And so that is why I attached this to the agenda. If anyone wants to go ahead and look at this plan in its entirety, This plan has reviewed the status of the river, stretching its 51-mile-long course. It has aimed at gathering community input and has been successful in some areas. But for us here in Lake Balboa, we have the LA River running through our parks. And through site assessments, this plan has identified that the Sepulveda Basin needs ecosystem regeneration, along with improved arts and culture, education, and improved water supply. No exact project has been discussed of currently, but this plan does include design guidelines that will be implemented. This includes how we should do floodplain reclamation, how it should be designed, including crossings and more. So please look at this document when everyone gets a chance. It is pretty extensive. And the last thing I do want to say is if you are concerned on the impacts that this plan will have on the environment, with a master plan like this, an environmental impact report or EIR has been completed and can be viewed in its entirety on their website and can be found at the link attached to the agenda. So please look at these documents, especially because I want to note that the county really pushed for community input, but at the time that the Board of Supervisors accepted this plan, multiple environmental groups pulled their support as they felt that they were not being listened to, which includes the Friends of the Los Angeles River, the East Yard Communities of Environmental Justice, the Los Angeles Waterkeeper, Heal the Bay, and the Nature Conservancy in California, who prefer to see the naturalization of the river itself. But this plan is proposing to concrete and cement a lot of different areas and not do a lot of naturalization. And so that is so far what has been presented in this master plan, and that is what I have today. So again, please take a look at them. With master plans and general plans, there's something that are implemented and not necessarily means there's a project in line right away. So please take a go ahead and look at them. And if there's any comments, there's actual contact information on this LA Master Plan website that's attached to the agenda, where if you want to give a comment, again, please go ahead and do so. There's a contact button on there that allows you to do that. And because I know it's extensive, I'll move on to agenda item number 8, which is the discussion of the Los Angeles Homeless Outreach Portal. With summer coming along, I know that Lake Balboa, like many other areas in the city of LA, has seen an increase in homelessness and unhoused individuals throughout our area. I know that it's very difficult to get in contact with who to work with when it comes to these communities and these individuals. And so one of the things I wanted to point out was the Los Angeles Homeless Outreach Portal that is managed by the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority. And I'm going to share my screen to show you all what I mean. So I'm not rambling on. One second. Perfect. So I want to say that when it comes to unhoused individuals and unhoused communities in general, it's very difficult to find any form of request or action or initiative on how to help these individuals. And one of the things that we don't want to do is make sure that LAPD isn't being overwhelmed with constant calls of what to do. And so for everyone who is interested and are on the phone, I want to know that the website is called LA-HOP/request. So on this website, it is an online portal that allows you to submit an online outreach request that will be handled, right, by the Los Angeles Housing Authority. So this request, what it's meant to do is to allow anyone in Lake Balboa or in the city of Los Angeles to electronically submit a request for someone that you have noticed or seen that is unhoused either on your block, at a park, or anywhere that you may be walking. And you can actually request for outreach, meaning that these unhoused individuals will not just be moved or displaced to a brand new community and not given any specific service. what this is meant to do is to provide an opportunity for the LA Housing Authority to come out, talk to these individuals, seek either mental health resources that they may need, medical resources that they may need, assist them in housing, assist them in other different areas. And so it is a very simple request that if you do want to remain anonymous, I have gone ahead and looked at it. And what you can do is you can actually just submit an email and a callback number, and they will do their best to come out, reach out and reach out to these individuals and help them in any way that they can. Now, that being said, with requests that are submitted online, I know it is very difficult to get an expedited answer back from the city or the housing authority in general. But I do want everyone to know that this is a resource that is available, and hopefully it is one that we can go to as our primary instinct rather than right away call either LAPD or another sort of action. Of course, unless it is a criminal activity, the first thing we should do is call 911. But if you see that it is an individual in need of housing or food or is struggling in any sort of way, this is a great resource to fill out. And hopefully it is one that we continue to use as summer reaches. And we see a lot of these unhoused individuals suffer through the heat. And hopefully it is one that will help them moving forward. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions on that one. Yes, Stacy. You're muted.
Not on purpose. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're okay. Perfect. Oh, Danica.
Miguel, can you email that to me?
Of course I can. I would love to.
Thank you.
Perfect, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna keep moving on because I know it's getting pretty late here, and I wanna make sure everyone has a chance to rest on a Monday night. Okay, so agenda item number 9. I'm a big believer, agenda item number 9, neighboring developments. Sub item A, discussion of the ENV-2017-575-EIR of the Panorama City Center.
Oh,
so that was a very, very big mouthful. But for anyone that's interested, what I just gave out is called an environmental case number. It is a planning case number that you can search up on the LA City Planning website. For any type of development that we ever talk about, I do my best to hopefully introduce these environmental planning cases numbers so anyone can go out there and reach this public information. So I'm a big believer on neighboring developments and how they can affect our own neighborhood itself. And with that being said, this new EIR, which I will share very quickly, is for a proposed development in Panorama City that will actually proposes to demolish, for those who know, the Panorama Mall located on Van Nuys Boulevard and Chase Street. It will get rid of the Walmart Supercenter that's here and 2 little restaurants. And this new development will aim to increase residential usage, commercial usage, medical usage, office space, and entertainment space. And so this is not something that we have to vote on or really comment on. It's just something that I want the community and our board and our committee to understand that this is something that Panorama Mall is one of the oldest malls in the San Fernando Valley. With increased density like this, you can also expect increased traffic along Roscoe Boulevard, which is one of the main thoroughways to get over to Van Nuys and especially to the Panorama Mall. I also want everyone to understand that this is a big staple for low-income communities in the area, especially the Latinx communities that highly utilize this space. And so currently right now, if you want to read what the environmental impact report is and what are some environmental impacts that they have noted, some of them include obviously increased traffic congestion, noise pollution, which means just more noise in the area, And another thing, right, is that they're going to have to get rid of this larger asphalt parking lot to make way for their buildings. So, like I said, this is something that you can go ahead and review for yourself to understand what this document is really saying. They just recently had scoping meetings in which they want to understand what to look for in the environmental impact report. So this NOP, which is a notice of preparation, is just to let the community know, hey, we are a developer, we are looking to implement this development in the area, and in order to do so, we need to prepare an environmental impact report. Prior to this, an initial study is prepared to just checklist and look at potential areas of environmental impacts. The next biggest step is an EIR, which actually intensely looks at the entire area from top to bottom, from various categories pertaining to soils, geotechnical, traffic, community, a big checklist. And so that's what this document is referring to. And so if anyone is interested and wants to give comments, you are allowed to do so. And you can actually do so following in the information on the NOP. And for those that want to know the case number again, it is ENV 2017-575 EIR, and it is attached to this agenda. And so if anyone wants to do that, they're welcome to do so. Any questions on that one? Perfect. Let us keep on going because we are doing awesome. All right, so the new agenda item number 10, committee comments. I'm gonna open it up to the rest of the committee for any comments that you may have, any issues, any observations that you have around your surrounding community that you wanna bring up to the committee as of right now. And if we don't have any, then we can move on. Perfect. All right. Oh, Gwen, yes.
Yeah, so I don't have any comments about the community necessarily. I just wanted to recognize Tom Riley, because I think this is his last meeting, and thank him for his leadership. I haven't been on the committee for very long, I guess relatively speaking. Long enough, but not long, too long compared to other folks. But I have learned a lot under his leadership, and he will be missed, and want to thank him for his leadership over the past, at least a couple of years that I've been involved. But I'm looking forward to working with you, Miguel, as well. And learning you as we go forward. So those are my comments.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Gwen. That was great. I appreciate your consideration. And I'll send you the check tomorrow.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Tom also. And I got to say, at our last regular meeting, Tom, I spent about 10 minutes thanking you and everything, and you never responded, and everybody left, and I realized that I was muted. So you can keep the check.
That's great. Oh, that's good. Well, I want to thank you all personally, if I may, for coming to my meeting, for listening. And I hope I have an asset to the community. And I really am, what's the word? Sad that I can't remain on the council which I certainly understand why I can't, because there's just so much going on in the community that's so much fun, and making decisions on, including Eric tonight. God, that is going to be so exciting to put that together. But anyways, I on a personal note, I love you all. You've been incredible. It's been fun. I look forward to every meeting that we had, and it has just been a wonderful 10 years. And thank you for letting me be part of it. And there's nothing else I'm going to add to it. It's been great.
Well, we still have your cell number, so just FYI.
Well, anyway, it has really been great. I really enjoyed the meeting tonight. It was great talking to Eric. The potential of what could happen is unbelievable. I mean, it's really exciting. And I mean, the downside of moving to Newbury Park is that their projects and concerns are smaller than what Lake Balboa is. So I guess I'll have to suffer with that. But anyways, have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Danica, I know you have one more comment before Tom.
I just wanted to say thank you, Tom, and welcome, Miguel. And I'm really sorry I have to leave the meeting.
That's okay. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Danica.
And Miguel, you're going to do a great job. You are going to do a fabulous job. And good night.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. So agenda item number 11, public comment from our anyone who wishes to give a public comment on non-agenda items, please raise your hand. Stacy, I see your hand. Go ahead and give a comment.
Super quick. I know you guys are all board members and said this, but I want to say it as a community stakeholder. I wanted to thank Tom for his decade of service to the community, both on the council and on the land use committee, and always looking out for our neighborhoods. And also for being the live entertainment during a lot of meetings. And I also wanted to congratulate Miguel on his first meeting and thank you for taking the helm. That's all. Thanks.
Hey, you got some big shoes to step into.
I know. What are we talking about? 10 and a half or 11?
I'll send you some of mine.
Thank you. Any other comments? For those that are on the phone, if you do wish to comment, please press *9 to raise your hand. Very well. And then final item, agenda item number 12, meeting adjourned.
At 8:35 p.m. Thank you very much.
8:35 p.m. Thank you everyone so much. Thank you for sticking with me.
And the recording is being stopped. Thank you.